Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another episode of On the Couch with Creatives. I say good morning because I'm here in the UK, but good afternoon or good evening if you're anywhere else in the world. I'm Melanie Perry.
And I'm Julie Hyde-Mew.
And this is On the Couch with Creatives. Fans and followers of the show will know by now that we're part of the Creatives Group, the private network for creative professionals across the globe. Together, we help you create at your best, connect you with like-minded individuals, and therefore help you grow your creative business. That sounds like a good idea to you and you'd like to join the growing number of creative professionals in our network, please don't hesitate to contact us after the show. But this is On the Couch with Creatives. So Julie, who do we have on the couch today?
Well, on the couch today is Gerry ADLAM, who is Head of Training at Resource Productions in Slough here in the UK, which is the growing hub of the British film industry. And his job really is helping local creative talent to get into and succeed in the creative industries, not just the film industry. Gerry has been involved in film, TV, radio, theatre and the arts all his working life. And something that film buffs will be very interested in, he's worked in special effects on films such as Raiders of the Lost Ark and Return of the Jedi. So let's get him on the couch and get him talking. Hello, Gerry. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Julie. Hi, Mel. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you're a very interesting man, so we want to talk to you. Gerry, let's kick off with an overview of your career, because when one looks at your bio, you spent nearly 30 years working on corporate videos, with hundreds and hundreds of corporate videos, and then suddenly in the CV you've got Clash of the Titans, model effects with Gerry Anderson, creating Thunderbirds. You've got Dick Spanner, PI. You've got Raiders of the Lost Ark, Return of the Jedi. So something happened in your life that is just so amazing. Give us a slight overview.
Okay. Well, ever since I was a youngster, I'll tell you a quick story. I've always loved films as a youngster, and my family and we used to go out for Sunday drives after dinner. This was sort of back in the 60s. And one day my dad said to me, "Do you want to go and see a volcano?" Now, I live in Slough, and as far as I know, there's not many volcanoes in Slough. But he took me to showed me one, and it was at Pinewood Studios. And it was the outside. We drove past, and you could see that the volcano that they were building for the film You Only Live Twice, the James Bond film, was all under the scaffolding. So you could see the shape of this volcano. And it was from that day, when I asked my dad what it was all about, and, he said of making a James Bond film and it's all filming, that's really sparked the interest in me. That sounds really interesting. And that's how I started thinking about going to the films. Always, like most boys of my age, I wanted to be George Best, but unfortunately, both my feet let me down on that front. So I was really sort of thinking maybe I can get into the film business. And I went to see my careers teacher, and I worked on went to school on the Britwell, which is part of the Slough, still there. I brought up on the Britwell council estate, and I remember going to see my careers teacher, and he said, "What do you want to do when you leave school?" And I said, "I'd like to work in the film industry." And he looked at me and said, "People like you from estates like this and schools like this don't get into the film business."
Whoa, that's so negative. I mean, Michael Payne would have something to say about that, wouldn't he?
He said, "Yeah." He said, "Have you thought about window dressing?" So there was nothing there for me. But I was so into it that I used to cycle up during my summer holidays and sit outside Pinewood Studios, which is about 6 miles away from where I live, just sat in a bus stop with me sandwiches and hoping someone would invite me in. No one did. And I was sending, obviously there was no email or anything like that. And I was sending letters in all the time to Pinewood Studios saying, could I come for a visit? Is there any chance, you could tell me how I could get a job? In those days, there was nothing really. The only way I had friends, brothers and sisters and dads that worked at Pinewood, but they were in the trades like carpenters or plasterers, and that's how they got in, that sort of thing. So it was something I just wanted to do, and also my love of James Bond was growing that way. So, it was a big thing to want to work on a James Bond film. So what happened in 1977 is that Pinewood had their only ever open day. They opened the studios for 2 days to the public. And it was sort of advertised as, come round and see all the sets. The Spy Who Loved Me had just been shot there. So the 007 stage was up. And a lot of production companies were there, and you could just wander around. It was fantastic. They only did it once because they just got overrun. I don't know if you know the Pinewood area, but all the car parks were full, and they were parked up to the Crooked Billet near Ivor. That's how busy it was. And recently they found a film of the day, and there's a shot of me and my sister actually opens the film, which is wonderful. So I always tell people that I was there because I can prove it in the film. So they had these little places, production companies opened up, and you can go in and you could visit to the people who work there. And I went into one place called Westbury Design and Optical, which was run by a lovely guy called Cliff Cully. And what they did was mainly sort of matte painting, model work. Matte painting is like the old CGI, where they actually sort of painted a scene on glass and then superimposed it over film. And Cliff was one of the top UK matte artists. So I went in there, and he said, told him what I wanted to do. And he said, "What are you doing now then?" And I said, "Well, I've been looking around, and my best subject at school was art. So I've looked at getting into art college, and I managed to get into art college, even though the school I was with had to find out how to do an A-level art course because they've never done it before, sort of thing. So me and a few friends did that. And I managed to get into the Royal Berkshire College of Art over at Maidenhead in those days. And I was doing a 3-year 3D dimensional course because I thought I could get into set design, and designing, and maybe get into the art department. So I told this to Cliff, and Cliff said, "Well, look, go and do your first year and then give me a call and we'll take it from there." And I just left it at that. So I had a brilliant day and went into and started my first foundation course. And it was my mum who said, when we was coming up to summer holidays, she said, "Have you phoned Cliff up yet?" And I said, "No." I said, that was one of those sort of like, "Don't call us, we'll call you." And she said, "Well, I think you should." And I said, "I don't think so." Anyhow, while I was at college, she rang Cliff up. And Cliff said, "Yeah, come in and we'll have a chat." So this was almost a year just before I was coming on to my summer holidays. And I went and see Cliff, explained, the situation. He remembered me amazingly. He said, "Well, look, why don't you, if you're not doing anything over the summer," he said, "I can offer you some work over the summer holidays. Just come in and help out." Dream come true. I was now in Pinewood Studios, and I was helping Cliff out, just doing sort of like menial jobs, but working on things like
inside. You were on the inside.
But I was on the inside, and
in the bus shelter.
That's it. And I got talking to people. And back in those days, we're talking sort of late 70s. The industry was very union led, and to work in the film industry, you had to be in the union, and to be in the union, you had to work in the film industry. So it was a real catch-22. But once again, I was so determined. My dad and I even went up to the ACT offices in Soho just to chat to one of the people there and say, how important is it? And they explained how important it was. So anyhow, I carried on working with Cliff for the 6 weeks, and it come to the end of the 6 weeks. And Cliff said, "Right, okay," he said, "I've got two offers for you now." He said, "The first one, which I would recommend you take, is go back to college, get your degree, and then maybe we'll talk again in 2 years' time. Okay. Or you could stay on here. I haven't got loads of work. It might be for another 6 days. It might be 6 weeks. We don't know. That's the nature of the business." But he said, "I would help you get your union card because you've sort of worked there." So I went away and I thought for about 10, 15 seconds, and then come back and said, "Yeah, that's what I want to do. That's all I've ever wanted to do, was work at Pinewood Studios." And that was the opportunity that I was looking for. So I started working with Cliff, worked on a few features, like Arabian Adventure, Clash of the Titans. And I think, you know, it's the story that I tell you, everybody now, youngsters, it's about networking. It's finding out, letting people know you're about. And I had a great time with Cliff, and not a lot of work was coming on, and he had to eventually let me go and said, you know, if any more work comes in, we'll give you a call. Sorry, this goes on a bit. I do apologise.
No. It's a fascinating story because it's a trajectory that so many people follow.
Yeah. And then my uncle, who lived just around the corner of me, knew a guy who was a chippy on the films. And he said to him, look, my nephew has just got into the film business. He's out of work now. Is there any, you know, do you want to have a chat with him? And he said, well, funny you say that. He said, we're looking for someone to come and help us out on the special effects unit on a film that we're doing over at Elstree. And he said, send him around, we'll have a chat. So now, remembering I'm a big film fan, so I know what's going on, as you know, even at that age. So I went around to see this guy. His name was Roy, and he said, yeah, he said, I'm working on this new film. I'm working with the special effects. I'm the chippy there. I'm helping them build stuff. And he said, we're looking for a youngster, like a runner, just to help out. He said, it's over at Elstree, which is over a mile, an hour away, but I'd already got a car, so I was driving, so it wasn't too bad. And I said to him, so what is the film? And he said, oh, I don't know. He said, I'm just a chippy. He said, I said, right. He said, it's some sort of adventure film. He said, it's like a B movie, like they used to make in the 50s and the 40s. And I said, oh, right. I said, do you know who the director is? No. He said, I don't know. He said, Stuart someone. And I said, it's not Steven Spielberg, is it? And he said, yeah, it might be. I said, yeah, I'll start Monday if I can. And that's how I got on Raiders of the Lost Ark. I went on there, just being in the right place at the right time. I was a trainee on the special effects. I was helping out and running. I went on almost every set of Raiders at Shepperton. I spent a couple of months, not Shepperton, sorry, Elstree. I spent a couple of months in Tunisia, out on location, and it was just wonderful. I got taken under the wing of a guy called Bill Warrington, who was the first special effects guy, UK special effects guy, to win an Oscar for Guns of Navarone, and he taught me loads of things. But it was just a fantastic experience. But as I say, just to be there, and also, you know, as this youngster, it was brilliant. And two stories I tell. One I've told a lot is that there's a famous scene in the Well of Souls when there's all the snakes on there, and we had over 3,000 non-poisonous snakes there. They're all being looked after, and we also had a couple of boas and a couple of pythons that the animal handlers put in. And there was one shot where we're looking right away down onto the set, and it was lovely and warm. The snakes have started going to sleep. Now, the special effects unit had already made up a sort of a rig that had rubber snakes on it that moved. So there was movement under the real snakes, but they were getting really tired. So the director asked, said, you know, what is there anything we can do to sort of liven the snakes up? And then sort of my boss said, well, we could pull maybe something, you know, one of our rubber snakes underneath it. And they said, yeah, that's a good idea. And so they needed someone to pull a snake underneath all the other snakes. And as I was the youngest, I was volunteered. And also I had this big fear of snakes at the time. And I always remember it. I was lying down by the foot of one of the big statues there. And I remember Spielberg pointed down and said, who's ever hiding behind that foot, don't move because you'll spoil the shot. Now, I didn't care because Steven Spielberg had spoken to me, so that was fine. So anyhow, it's action. I'm lying there and I'm pulling my plastic snake. And suddenly I feel something on my leg. And then it goes up a bit higher. And I feel it on the side of my arm. And I look, and there is a python. I'm sure he winked at me, and I couldn't do anything. Looked at me, looked on, and then went on. And that cured my fear of snakes. So that's one of the stories.
You shared a fear of snakes with Indiana Jones.
Exactly. So we do that. So yeah, it was those sort of experiences like that, and you know, it was a different sort of etiquette on stage in those days, and security, and got to talk to Harrison Ford and people like that, and it was wonderful. And right at the end of the shoot, you could never do it these days. It was out in Tunisia, and I saw Steven Spielberg sitting in his chair between shots. He was reading a script called Boy's Own, which became E.T. And being a cheeky 20-year-old, I went up to him and I said, "Could you sign my crew hat, please?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." And he said, "What do you want to do when you know, in your future career?" I said, "Oh, I'd love to be a director." And he said, "Oh, maybe one day I'll be working for you." Never heard of him since. He's never called me. But yeah, so I've got this hat at home signed by Steven Spielberg. So that was my first big intro into the films. I was working for a wonderful guy, special effects guy called Kit West, who got an Oscar for the work on Raiders. And then once again, out of work, you know, I was living home with mum and dad. You know, the wages for a youngster were fantastic. You know, I didn't have to worry about work. And then I got another call from Kit, said, "Would you like to come and join us again at Elstree?" And that was this time not working with Steven Spielberg, but George Lucas on Return of the Jedi, or Revenge of the Jedi, as it was originally called. It was called Revenge when we was working it, but they changed it because George Lucas thought that Jedi were a peaceful race and they would not go for revenge. So, yeah, and then once again, I was a trainee on there helping out bits and pieces, doing a bit of engineering, which I found out I wasn't very good at, but I was good at being on set. And there's a famous scene where Luke and Darth Vader and the Emperor are fighting in the Death Star, and I think you've got a photograph of. I helped put some squibs on Luke and Darth Vader, so it looked like all the power was hitting him, and they put the sparks on afterwards. So yeah, so that was my introduction, and as I say, worked on a couple more films. Went back to Cliff a couple of times doing Clash of the Titans and bits and pieces like that, and yeah, so that was really good. And then there was a lot of time out of work. Lucky I live in Slough, so there was a lot of work on the trading estate, and I spent quite a while working for a company that made plastic food and plastic chickens and things like that. I was in the warehouse department, but you know, just to get some money in. And I overheard in a pub one night that Gerry Anderson was setting up a new business, a new production over at Bray Studios. Once again, wasn't very far from me. And I thought, oh, that sounds like an opportunity. So once again, I'm breaking all the rules that are about today. Is one lunchtime, I went over to Bray Studios. And what you got to remember is the security wasn't like it is today. I drove up to the porter cabin that was the security. And I said to the guy, "I've got an appointment with Gerry Anderson today." He said, "Do you know where to go?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I didn't, but it's not a big studio. So I went in there, found the productions office, and I went in. I said, "Is Gerry Anderson in today?" I spoke to the secretary, and they said, "No, he's not in." I said, "Oh." And they put me on to the art director, a lovely guy called Bob Bell. And I explained, I said, "Look, this is a bit cheeky." I said, "But you know, I heard you got a new production. I've been working on special effects. I'm looking to another move." And he said, "Unfortunately," he said, that all the special effects crew is all cast now. You know, it's all done. So, you know, I'm sorry about that." I said, "Well, you know, who dares win?" And, you know, at least I gave it a try. And just as I was walking away, he said, "You know, would you say you was physically fit?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I think so." He said, "Because we are looking for someone to help in the art department, putting up the puppet sets and building all the sets for the puppets, build it over a pit. And, you know, we need people to help up that and maybe help out in the props." He said, "Would you be interested in doing that?" Yes. And that's always been my thing. Say yes, and then see what, you know, there's no such things as mistakes. You're just learning from solution. You know, you're just learning all the time. So, yeah, I started, that was in 1982. And yeah, I started with Gerry Anderson on Terrahawks. He was the producer, and I was finally working in the art department with the puppet department, and that was another great experience. But I also had some change around of personnel, because you had the puppet studio at one part of the studio, and then down towards the main building you had the special effects. Now the special effects were being operated by a young Scots guy by the name of Steve Begg. That Gerry was brilliant at bringing on young people, you know, because there's a lot of people in that sort of age that started with Gerry and went on to become the best. People like Derek Meddings and Brian Johnson and people like that. All that time they went on to become Oscar winners. And Steve, this was his first opportunity. He's now one of the UK's top visual directors, Batman and everything. He's done loads of stuff, and we're still in touch. He had a change of personnel as well, and we had got talking in the bar, as you do, and I told him about my experience. And when they had a bit of a change of personnel, Steve said, well, look, Terry did some special effects. There's only chance we could transfer him to do the second series. So I was up for that. So then I joined the model department of Terrahawks and spent wonderful time doing all the model work, and also ended up doing a lot of the pyrotechnics on it. There was sort of things going on, and I became, for a while, one of the youngest pyrotechnics trainees, with all the okay from the special effects committee. You know, it was all before sort of health and safety really come in. But once again, it was being there at the right place. While I was there, you know, the work started and it stopped, but I always kept, you know, contact with Gerry, and I started doing storyboards. I helped him out on some commercials where I did some storyboards for him, and he was even an assistant director on a couple. And it was quite funny when he said he was looking for a storyboard artist. Once again, Steve put me forward. He was going through my portfolio, and he come across these drawings that I'd done. I remember I'd done it one wet Sunday afternoon. I've been watching Blade Runner, and I drew this robot detective, and I just did a series of drawings. And Gerry said, "What's this?" And I sort of thought, "Oh, this is it's a detective. It's a detective in a parallel universe. He's part android, he's part robot." And he said, "What's he called?" And I said, "Dick Spanner." It was like Mike Hammer. I said, "Dick Spanner." And he said, "Why haven't you shown me this before?" And I said, "Well, you've never asked." But within 9 months, we had a deal with Channel 4 through Gerry, and we made 26 5-minute episodes, stop motion, plasticine, like Wallace and Gromit, that went out on the first youth program on Channel 4 called Network 7. It went out on the Sundays. Yeah, and I co-wrote that with a wonderful guy, scriptwriter called Tony Barwick, who wrote loads of stuff for Thunderbirds. But when I was growing up, things like The Saint, The Persuaders, you know, that was a name I recognised. And there I was working with him, and Gerry kindly gave me a created by, and I directed 25 of the 26 episodes. So once again, a fantastic thing. People ask me about Dick Spanner these days because it's become a bit of a cult thing. But I always say to people, it was made of its time. Yeah, I don't think you could have ever made it. It was full of silly puns and silly visual gags, and it was sort of aimed at the student university audience. So anyhow, yeah, so I worked with Cliff for quite a while, and as things happen, the work dried up again, and I got married, and I was shopping in Asda in Slough one day, and I saw this lady wearing a shirt that said Croft Television Burnham. And I thought, well, I don't know if that's a television company, you know, they might be someone who repairs television. But of course, I went on Google. No, I didn't, because Google wasn't invented back then. I went to the good old yellow pages and found out it was a company literally 6 minutes away from where I live. I could walk there, and they made corporate videos. And once again, I sort of made an appointment. I did it above board this time, made an appointment and said, "Yeah, come in, bring your portfolio." And I went in and showed the boss my portfolio. And he said, "Yeah," he said, "unfortunately, we're a corporate video. It's not like films, you know, and we don't really do special effects or anything like that." He said, "But I noticed in your portfolio, you excuse me, you write scripts." And that was another love of mine, is writing. And I've always been writing comedy scripts and plays and like that. And he said, "You know, we may be looking for someone to help us on the script side. Would you be interested?" And once again, I said, "Yeah, you know, it's a new avenue. Let me I'll give it a go." So we did it on a freelance basis, and I think the first one I did was up in Nottingham for baby food for Boots, and I just helped out on the script there, and we got on really well. And I started doing other little helps out on the scripts, and then going along maybe the filming. And I was there for freelance for about a year or so, and it was just when jobs come up, and then more jobs used to come up, and then they found out that, you know, I was interested in editing, so I started to get lessons on editing. And then, you know, he said to me, you know, we really like what you do, you know, would you think about coming full time? And now I thought, well, yeah, I could do with a constant wage. It would be nice. And I just got married and got a mortgage sort of thing. And that's when I thought, well, okay, this works for me at the moment. You know, it wasn't film business money, but it was a 9 to 5 job, and you know, it was there. So I said, yeah. So I sort of said, yeah, I'll join on and help out. And I started doing editing. Then I got involved in the filming, script writing, concepting. And then I thought I'll do that for a couple of years, and I was there for 27 years.
It all keeps on rolling, doesn't it? Once you've got a foot in the door and you've got a bum on the seat, it just keeps rolling. And
those, you know, and then I, you know, like everything, you know, as I say, I took on editing. I did every role that was going. I even acted. I even presented a few health and safety videos, and it was a great time. There was a change of management halfway through, and I stayed on with the new management, and you know, it all went well. And it got to sort of like, you know, it was getting to about 26, 27 years. And there were some changes, because there were so many changes going around. The technology was running away. I couldn't keep up with technology. You know, when I first joined the company, the edit suite was about the size of a small front room, and it was all done on tape. When I left, you could do it on your laptop.
Machine.
It's exactly. It was tape to tape, and yeah, it was. And technology was just getting the better of me. You know, we had a lot of fantastic young guys who been brought up with computers. You know, that was the place I first saw the internet. You know, and you know, it's amazing what happened. That technology changed from that time. You know,
it was so quick. It was quick.
Yeah, because you know, when I started helping script writing with Gerry, you know, it was like, it wasn't even Word. It was like a BBC sort of thing. So, you know, I remember we felt so posh because we had a fax machine, and I used to do storyboards and fax them off. But anyhow, so after and there was redundancies available, and I thought, yeah, you know, this is probably a good time for me to move. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do from then, and I think, to be honest, I thought, well, you know, I was just coming up to 60. I thought, well, yeah, I've had a good innings. You know, I've done that well. Perhaps I'll look around to do something a bit different. Now, I'd known Dom Unsworth, who's the CEO of Resource Productions. I'd known her quite a while, because I was chair of the Slough Writers Group, still am, sort of 33 years later, and I knew her husband, and I knew Dom through the arts in Slough, because we was involved in that, and I knew that she did Resource Productions. And I just found out one day that some staff were leaving, and I just rang Dom up and said, look, you know, I'm available if you need any extra pair of hands. And she said, well, we don't need anything at the moment, but you know, it's great to know. And then one of the staff was going on holiday for a couple of weeks, and Dom rang me up and said, look, would you like to come in and just help out for a while, you know, sort of on the takeover for this? And I said, yeah.
This is just amazing that every single step of the way, it's, would you like to come in and just help out? Would you like to just come in and help out? And that is how it goes, isn't it? You were talking about the networking and knowing people and putting your foot in the door. So that's how you got into Resource Production. So let's sorry to interrupt.
But it's also you know, that I've told this story so many times. There has been a lot of ups. There's been a lot of downs. So you know I've been incredibly lucky that you know, been in the right place at the right time, and also having a little bit of front to go up and speak to people and say, look, this is what I'm doing, you know, sort of things. And as I say, I did a couple of days with Dom, and then she got me they were doing a film there, and she asked if I'd like come on do second AD. Yeah, brilliant. And just cut a long story short, a couple of years ago, she said, you know, would you like to start working 2 days a week? And then, yeah, great. Then it became 3 days a week. And then she said, would you like to go full time? And then I think it's about 2 years ago, incredible, absolutely incredible. I was asked to become head of training. And here I am now, head of training, 4 years later. And for me, I must be the luckiest person on earth, because I feel like I'm now done a complete circle. And all those terriers that were sitting at the bus stop at Pinewood because there wasn't help to get in, and now there is. And to be able to be one of those people, to be able to go out to youngsters or young people or people just interested in getting in the creative industry, and to be able to say, there are the opportunities there now. I didn't have those opportunities, but I've had a great career. But the greatest thing for me is if someone rings me up and says, Terry, I've just been on a film set. Terry, I've just got a job as a runner. That to me is, and I'm not just saying it, but of all those jobs that I've had, I've been incredibly lucky to have. This work that I do at Resource is probably the most satisfying. And it's challenging. It's made me go to places, you know, in myself, and you know, with management and people skills that I never thought I'd have to go to or that I could do. But I think that's been my story. It's like, yeah, I don't want to be sitting there in years to come saying, I wish I'd done that. So yeah. So as I say, I tell everyone it's been a fantastic journey. It's been a very lucky journey, and I've met some wonderful people and people that have taken a gamble on me as well. Not always worked, but yeah. It's all like speaking to you now. It's like just looking back, I do have to sort of check on photographs and think, was I really there? You know, it seems there. But obviously, I'm still as passionate about films and writing and as I've ever been.
So on that note, it leads us in very nicely to asking what your top tips, or 3 top tips would be for youngsters today who want to get into the film industry, because as you said in your career, you were very lucky and you had nerve to and also the studio security wasn't as tight as they are today, so you were able to walk up and say, hi, do you need any help, you know, and they were able to say yes or no. But you know, youngsters today can't do that. It's very much tightened down, and it seems to me not only the security, but you need a degree as long as your arm just to fix the toilets. So it's kind of like, what advice do you give out, and indeed what advice does Resource give to those youngsters who are desperately wanting to get through that door?
Well, I think the first thing to sort of just pick up on that, you do not need a degree as long as you are. You just need passion. I think the one of the tips I would give, and I do give, is believe in yourself, and you know, speak to people, communicate. If you've got a passion, you will do it. It can be a frightening prospect, you know, for any people going into the business. But if you've got a passion, look at, you know, study the business, see what's going on. You know, the creative industry, especially film, is not just about an actor, a director, and a camera person. There are so many other jobs. That's just the tip of the iceberg, you know. And you know, just look at your hobbies. What do you do? And you can bet that your hobby, there is something in the film industry that you could work to. Watch the end credits. If you watch, you know, some of the Marvel ones, you see hundreds and hundreds of people on there. And the thing we do at Resource is we try to, we offer training, we offer one-to-ones, we offer network training, we offer opportunities, but we also offer an awareness of what films are out there. You know, you've got all these studios coming round now. There's a lot of film. Obviously, there's a bit of a hiatus at the moment with the strike and everything on over in America. So not as many films are being made at the moment, but they will be. But I think it's just keep an eye on things. And if you've got a passion, go for it. But also, I think my second tip, and I think I've sort of explained this, we all want to be directors. You know, that's one of the most common things. I want to be a film director. You're not going to walk in and be a film director. You know, you know, there's so much to learn. And my second tip is don't always worry about that straight line. You know, try and get an entry job as a runner or with a production company or stuff like that, because you will move around as I've done. You know, you may sort of be running with a production company and you start working with a camera department. You think, oh, I like to do camera. Or you might be able to do lighting. So, you know, it have a focus, but don't worry if it goes off a bit. And also remember, you know, going back to, it's not just a you know, director, camera person and actors, you know, lighting, who makes the lights? Who supplies the lights? You know, those sort of people will get you on set. You know, you can start working there and get as much knowledge as you can. Because if you want to be a director, you've got to know everything. And that's always something. And I guess my third tip is don't give up. You know, it's like everything. It's not just this industry. Any industry, if you want to succeed, you know, just keep going. There are, you know, I tell this story, and you know, my story, and it sounds all, you know, a wonderful thing, but there's been so many sort of ups and downs, lots of times out of work. You know, I've worked in many other different jobs, you know, from, you know, sort of warehouse work, data inputting, worked at Legoland, you know, which are all fine jobs, but keep working, keep, you know, because that's the other thing is keep your mind alert, keep it going and be creative.
So how do people get hold of you, or how do they get to know what's going on? What is Resource Productions? What are they offering? The network
if you
offer and the courses and the training that you offer.
Yeah, we have a website, resource-productions.org, and you come on our website, and that will explain all what we do. We have for young people, we have Media Mondays every Monday night, where you can come along to the S Shop in Slough and learn about films. We have Script Saturdays, which are a bit longer. I'm going to be giving a program out soon where I run a thing called the Creative Collective, which is aimed at 19 plus creatives, local creatives in the area. We do tend to concentrate on the local area, you know, Slough, Windsor and Maidenhead and Buckinghamshire and parts of Berkshire. So that's our sort of area, because London's got their own sort of infrastructure on that. But we have
that's the hub, isn't it, of the film industry in the UK. The studios are all around that area.
Yeah. The Creative Collective can offer one-to-ones. We also offer workshops, one-day workshops, anything from sort of like introduction to videography or makeup or photography. And we have other courses. We've got the BFI Academy coming up soon in January that we run alongside BFI, where we take a selected number of young people. They come on a course where they begin with an idea and end up with a film, you know, a 3-minute film at the end of the day. And we have every quarter we have networking where you can come along and just network, because that's the most important thing, is networking. You know, I'm afraid it's not what you know, it's who you know sometimes. And and networking, you know, it is one of the hardest things to do, to actually take that step up and talk to someone straight away. But it comes with confidence, and it comes with practice.
Absolutely. The more you do, the better you'll get.
Yeah. And as I say, with Resource, you know, we really are, you know, it's a fantastic company. Dom is fantastic in you know, the arts in the local area. She's done absolutely loads of stuff there, and you know, much admired, and we're always moving forward. we're all, we've recently got MPO status, which we're working closely with the Arts Council, and lots of exciting things coming up. It's an exciting time. And as I say, for someone who thought they were finished at 60, here I am approaching 64 with a whole new career. And it's funny, when I did the 27 years in the corporate industry, I felt I'd left the film industry. My brother-in-law remained in it, and he did all the Harry Potter films, and he was telling me all these stories about working on the film sets, and I was telling him how I went to this factory to film health and safety videos and stuff like that, all very important, but it wasn't sort of the film industry, and I never ever thought I would get back. But now I feel that I'm in a different way. I'm back in the film industry, but I'm back there hopefully helping the crews of tomorrow and today to go
and
forward.
That's very important, being a mentor to the up and coming generation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm very honoured to be in that position.
Both Julie and I can highly recommend Lost Productions. We're massive fans, and do go check them out, because it's not just kids and the up and comers that they help get back into or get into the creative industries with regard to filmmaking. It's also people that are looking to maybe change careers as well in life. So it's not just for the young. You're not past it if you're thinking that you need a change, and your dream has always been to get into the film industry. Don't give up. Go and talk to Resource Productions, and you'll probably find there is a way. There is a way.
Yeah, I'd love to be out of the wave of magic wand and give everyone a job, but we know that's not possible. But if we can offer, support, and signposting people.
At the end of the day, it's up to the individual. You can give them as much as you want. You can give them as much advice and as many tools as you want, but it's really up to the individual to forge their own path.
On that note, we're at that point in the show where we're gonna do the on the couch part of On the Couch, Terry. We're gonna ask you. We're gonna play our little values jam game. Okay, nothing to worry about. Just say the first thing that comes into your head. As we're creatives, we're going to ask you some creative questions about whatever value you pick. So I'm going to run my finger along my cards. You're going to say stop, and we'll pick a card.
Okay, let's stop there.
Stop. Right. What have we got? Ooh, stop for them. Oh, this is quite a good one, actually. This is quite a good one for entrepreneurs and creatives. You picked independence. Okay, we're all fairly independent because we have to be when we're striking out on our own. So I'm going to ask you creatively, Terry. So I've got the wrong glasses on, so I can read it. What does independence mean to you, Terry? What does it look, feel, and sound like? So draw on all your visual effects knowledge. If you had to think about it looking and feeling and sounding like something, what would it be? Independence.
It's first thing that came in was concrete. It's like, because in the creative industry, to be independent is very difficult. To be creative, it's about collaboration, and it's working with other people. You can never make a film on your own. You see that name up there, and then you see the thousands of people. I think independence means to me is the idea. This is my idea. This is what I want to take forward. As I say, I still write now when I write plays and things. I've been lucky to have plays put on. And I think the independence is, I can't write with anyone, but I can sit and write a play, and then I can move it on to actors, producers, theatre people who can put that on. And I think the independence, it's difficult. Independence or passion. It's a difficult one. But my first thing is like, independence is good at the beginning, but you need collaboration.
Absolutely.
Collaboration and understanding, and also, but also be able to share your ideas and keep your ideas. that you want to, your initial idea that you came up with, you want to try and keep it as close to that as possible. But the lovely thing is, as you know, is, just talking to creative people, you go in talking about one thing and it goes off in completely different other things. And then it comes back and you think, well, why didn't I think of that? Because you can't.
Yeah.
It's not an independent process. Does that help?
Yeah. So what does it sound like? Maybe it sounds like the babble of voices, that collaboration.
Sounds like, yeah. I think it is. It's that hubbub from a room behind a locked door.
Yeah.
It's that sort of. What are people talking about? Where's that going? And then suddenly, yes, that's it. So I think it's chatter. It's vocalizing.
Yeah, I like that.
And I say, if we can take it even, I say it's slightly grey. if it was a colour.
Yeah. Interesting. I like that. Well, my goodness, we have talked a lot, and we've run out of
apologise.
No, we could talk to you all day. We could do. There's so many of our guests, aren't there, Julie? We could do like a little mini series. An hour is just not enough time at all to really get to know you. But just thank you so much for joining us on the couch today. Thank you to my lovely co-host Julie Hyde-Mew, and thank you to our gorgeous audience for joining in this lovely conversation as well. But
good luck, everyone.
We'll see you.